This production is sponsored by S&J Detailing, the patio and driveway cleaning experts. Quote Super League Raw on quotation for an exclusive discount. S&J Detailing and Super League Raw, washing away the competition. Well, welcome again to another In Conversation with Super League Raw. We've finally tied it down. This one's been coming for a while. I'm absolutely delighted to have with me tonight the Director of Rugby League from the Warrington Wolves, Mr. Gary Chambers. Gary, welcome to Super League Raw.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Very, very well indeed. Thanks very much indeed for sparing us your time. Right, as per every In Conversation, we're going to ask you a few quick fire questions. First and foremost, who's your favourite rock band singer?
I like. I'm going to say I'm a bit of a rock, like Metallica, bit of that sort of thing. Yeah, that's probably my go-to music. Yeah, I like a bit of that.
Fantastic. You got a favourite song of theirs, or your favourite song in general?
But funny enough, we're in Tenerife there, and they were playing it a bit there. So it's a Thin Lizzy one, I like Whiskey in the Jar, and I just think they've done a good remix of that, so it's good.
Fantastic. Your favourite film? What's your favourite film of all time?
I would have said Untouchables. I loved that at one time, and but I think getting into this role now, I sort of got into Moneyball and things like that. So I've watched that a couple of times. It sort of gives me some ideas. So yeah, I'm sort of like those sort of things. Untouchables, Shawshank Redemption, obviously all those ones. But your Moneyballs and that are sort of taking over now.
Fantastic. Right, if Gary Chambers let's say a film was made about Gary Chambers, who'd be the lead character? Who'd play you? Who'd be the man to be Gary Chambers on film?
Man, I've never been told asked that one. Who would play me in that? Who would I want to play it? Or
yeah, go on, whichever.
Who would I want to play it? I like Harrison Ford of Star Wars and things like that. I think he would. I think he'd do a better job of me than I would of myself, mate. Someone like that.
One of the best actors of his generation, without doubt. What 3 words best describe Gary Chambers?
Loyal, hardworking, good listener.
Good listener. Right, what's your favourite holiday destination?
Cyprus, like it.
Yes.
Yeah,
What
Cyprus,
part?
good.
What part?
Paphos,
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Go
love the
there, been
place.
there loads, love it.
Yeah, me too. That's my favourite holiday destination. Might see you on the harbour one night. Who knows?
Yeah, I love it around there.
What's your current TV box set if you've got time to watch one?
You know what? I'm not watching anything like that. I don't. If I can, I read a lot. I like to read. I'm plowing my way through the Ivan Cleary book at the moment, which is a real good read. So I've just got into that. So I read quite a bit. I'll watch the odd film, but box sets, no, not sort of got into anything, Dave. Really, to be honest.
Who is your rugby league hero?
Wow. That's a tough one as well. Wow. Who did I look up to the most? The best player I think I ever played with on that one was Greg Mackey.
Yeah.
I just liked everything about the guy. How he played, what he brought to the team, how he played above his weight, what he stood for. And he's sadly no longer with us. And who's my rugby league hero? Wow. I think I probably see people like, when I'm coming in, and proud of it. You look at what someone like Dick Udder did when he came from Whitehaven, and most people won't remember him, but he went to St Helens, carved himself a career there. Then he ended up going to St George and became a rugby league legend there. So he's, I sort of admire what he did in his career from where he came from and who he was. So somebody who's got that sort of longevity and can do it at that level, similar to what obviously people like James Graham have done that sort of thing at those clubs. And my favourite player the most respected player I've ever played with, the one who I enjoyed playing with the most, or being around the club with, Les Boyd. I think if I was going to have someone who I looked up to as a child, or as a young player coming through, it was Les.
Folklore. You're going into folklore, Warrington Wolves there with Les Boyd, I have to say. Right, who's the worst dressed in rugby league? Who's the one that you've seen in rugby league where you've gone, mate, where's your fashion sense gone there?
I can't even look. I am like one of the scruffiest sods you've ever seen in your life. I just don't care, eh? So I can't
Are you
say that
taking
one
it?
because I'm taking it because I don't care. My wife goes mad. I've got no. I don't like going shopping. I don't like buying clothes. I'm not into any of that. So I can't call anyone out on that, mate, because it's probably myself.
Happy days, right. When you were playing, what was your favourite ground to visit as a Warrington player back in the day?
Love Central Park. I
Yeah, it was
love the
good.
old Central Park. Something about those grounds and the tradition. I like all things tradition. Just speaking about folklore with Les Boyd and people like that, and I love going to Wigan and Knowsley Road and those sort of grounds because it was just unbelievable atmosphere. I I just thought that Wilderspool was like nothing I've ever known from. I could have went to a few clubs, when I first moved here, and it was always Warrington. It was always. I signed on World War III. Actually, it was that day. I just
Was it?
couldn't believe it. I could not believe what I was seeing. Um, to be involved and to sit there watching now was like, wow, this is. So yeah, mate. Wilderspool was, and I've got to say that I've been here a long, long time now, but such a special place to me.
Yeah, yeah. And I think to most Warrington fans as well, but dear me, World War Three. For those kids who don't know what Gary's talking about, get onto YouTube, just put in Warrington Wigan World War Three and let Paul Cullen take you on a journey on that one. It's an absolute storming view. That is right. The last question we'll ask you, and then we'll get into some rugby league. If you were going to have 3 dinner party guests, alive or dead, come to Chateau Chambers for a nice meal, who would you invite? What 3 characters would you invite to that meal?
Definitely Billy Connolly.
Nice.
He'd be number one. Oof, next after that. You know what? That's a hell of a question as well, Dave. I need to think about those. Can we come back to them other 2 later on? Ask me at the end.
Yeah, all right.
Definitely
Yeah,
got.
let your subconscious do that one. We'll come
Yeah.
back to those 2. Right. What we're going to do tonight in this particular episode is something a little bit different. We're not going to go to Gary's career. We might bring Gary back in the future and we talk about Gary's playing career. And let me tell you now, he does play that down a little bit. Me and Gary have spoke many a time, but we might come back to that. This is the first director of rugby league that we've had on In Conversation. And a lot of people, one, will want to know what all that is about in terms of a role, but also your journey at Warrington, especially coaching the kids that are now coming through. You transition into this role last season with Sam and beyond. So let's start first and foremost with the position that is a director of rugby league. Now, of course, there might be differences in other clubs, but in Warrington Wolves, Gary, what is your remit? What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
I'm sort of responsible for the smooth run of everything performance-wise. So be that in recruitment with Sam, signing players, sorting contracts out, looking at all football operation matters, making sure that systems and structures are in place, looking after the youth program, the women's, all things rugby really that comes under and everything that goes with that, making sure that it runs smoothly, allowing Sam and the excellent team of coaches and staff that they've got just to go and do what they need to do. They've got enough pressure on. If I can take any bit of pressure off them and make sure that they turn up and do what they need to do to the best of their ability, that's where he comes in. I'm fortunate enough, I spent a long time in education and using those skills like planning and a bit of forward thinking, attention to detail. That's the role. We're working on fine margins here. We probably lost 3 key games all year last year. We lost at Wembley, we lost against OKR, I tend to say, and Sam said this himself, the 18-19 loss at Wigan, you know, we do that, we probably win the League Leaders' Shield. We could have had a Challenge Cup one, and then we're getting to a final. So what are the key things that I can bring to that makes those defeats then come to victories? And you know, we're saturating every minute detail to make sure that works with everything that we've done in pre-season and how we've gone away on training camps. You know, the detail that's going into make sure that we do well over in Las Vegas, in Vegas, because we've got a big game prior to that, and we've got a big game afterwards, and we'll be doing a lot of traveling. So it's all the attention to detail stuff that allows the coaches and the staff to go and do what they need to do.
Now, obviously, nothing's given in life, Gary. You know, you'd have been interviewed for this position, and in that job interview, they'd probably have asked you, as a new position within the Warrington Wolves, what were your the key elements that you wanted to bring in? Did you then and even now have you got things that you want to stamp into the club? I mean, you talked about organisation and the youth system, etc. What did you say in that interview? What was your vision for this role and for the club long term?
I love the club, and I wanted to bring back the identity of what we were when we were at Wilderspool. I didn't want to be a yo-yo team anymore, or a seesaw team. That we are consistent. We do our crowd, our fans proud week in, week out. We have the right caliber of player there. You know, we want to be surrounded by good people first, and bring those sort of players in who epitomise what we are as a club, about hard work and graft, and sometimes that's been lost because of sometimes we spend a lot of money on players, and we can buy players because we have fantastic owners, but we needed to go back to be that team where the caliber of play we brought in was prepared to graft, to toil, to suffer, and to graft, and then add that with some real quality in that. And it was about setting that in stone and becoming a team that was known as that. And I think that started to come through. And I still firmly believe that, my passion is obviously with the youth. We have this model that we go broader for longer, and we develop our own. And I think once we start to see 50, 60%, if you look at metrics wise, of homegrown players playing in our squad, that's when we start to really become sustained, have long-term sustainable success. That's when it'll happen. And, it's going in the right direction now.
So what's broader for longer? Can you explain that to us? What, when you say broader,
I firmly believe that rugby league is, you have exceptions, but if you play later for longer, it's a late maturation sport. You get better as you get older, because it usually takes about 20, 21 before you go through all your growth spurts. Everyone's at different levels, especially in the youth system. You can see it under 11s, under 12s. I could get my daughter to go and pick a standout player at that level. But what you're looking for is the players who show the most potential, who've got that grit, that desire, that toughness, who are fit. And it's to see those ones, it's to find those ones and to give them an opportunity to flourish. Now, it might take 3 years, it might take 5 years, it might take 7 years, but we try and keep our players in a system as long as possible, so they have their chance and they've hit their growth rates and they've hit their maturation levels and they're ready to go. It's their time, and we try and keep it that way. And if it doesn't work, then they leave us. I'm adamant on education. There's a lot of people who come in who we have a lot of players involved with us who are, part of their contract is to go on university courses. So they work a couple of days with the first team and a couple of days at uni or with the reserves. And when they leave us, once they've saturated everything that they've got, and if they're successful, brilliant. If they're not successful, they go off and have a fantastic career somewhere else, but they've also got something underneath them to support them in later life.
Which we've seen in other sports for a long, long time, but perhaps not in rugby league. So, the fact that Warrington are making sure that these young lads that are coming through have got a career outside of rugby league, whatever that may be, is it's a wonderful thing that in that respect. I mean, for those who don't know Warrington, it's like all hotbeds of rugby league. lots of amateur sides in there, a lot of talent around Warrington. And over the years, Gary, we've lost quite a few good kids to the likes of Wigan, Saints. I mean, Lee now, they've been given an academy this year. So it's becoming more and more competitive, isn't it, in the northwest of England to get these lads to sign for Warrington Wolves.
It's massive. You've got Salford in there as well now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So but we won't break what we're doing. We do lose them, and we stick to a format that the rugby league guidelines say that you can't be looking to recruit young people until a certain time. Other clubs don't follow those rules, and some parents and guardians get nervous with. I have an issue with a scholarship system that runs with 20 players, because what you have then is, I have a lot of friends at amateur clubs, the drop-off level at 16 when players don't get signed up. Every club in our town should have an under-18s team. Every under-18s team should then be feeding through to a first team. It should be vibrant, but because players don't get signed up for a 20 player scholarship at such a young age, players drop off thinking they haven't got a chance. That's not the message. If anything comes out of this tonight, what we're doing, it's that, if you don't get picked up at 16, that's fine. Stick with it, keep going. Your chance will come, and we'll keep the door open for you. And we lose players, we do, and that's all right too. If other players want to go somewhere else because another club from around here has made them an offer before we have, it's not that we're not looking, it's not that we're not interested. It's just that we think that they need a little bit more time. I know a few years ago there was a massive uproar about, I think, Rylands team. There was about 9 or 10 players who went to St Helens, and that's all right. We out of that group of players that come through, that out of that Rylands team, we've got people in our first team who didn't go, that we got from other clubs in Warrington, who needed a bit longer to come through. So it's about us sticking with what our model is, about then keeping it open, we have a commitment to our amateur clubs. They're our biggest supplier, they're our biggest fan base. We have a commitment to make the amateur clubs as strong as possible. I don't want to be in a situation where we're offering contracts to some young people and the rest just drop off because they haven't been offered anything. They might need to have even gone through any sort of maturation, then they haven't even started growing at 15 and 16. So we try and keep it open. We try and make sure, that they go and play 18s, that they play open age if they're good enough at that, and then we'll bring them in. And that, you do get bolters. You do. You look at our captain George Williams. He was an outstanding, amateur, and he came through early. The young fella who played against Widnes the other night, Ewan Irwin, and just an outstanding talent. But generally, with your middles, your front rowers, and that, you've got to wait a bit.
And we've seen that with Jimmy, haven't we? With Jimmy Harrison. I know he's not come from our system.
Matty Ashton, Jody Crowther, those sorts of people. Aaron Lindau was not like your standout player. Adam Allroyd was not. He came into like academy and reserves late. That there's loads of them. Jimmy Harrison, Matty Ashton as well. Like what you said, it's everybody matures at their own level. And what we've got to make sure that, because we want to be an all-inclusive sport, we want to support our amateur clubs, we want to do well for our town that way, we'll wait as well and we'll develop them.
Do you know what's good about what you've said there? I'm a great believer that comparison is one of the worst things in life. And I think what radiated from what you've just said there is that all of these lads, they're on their own pathway. Some will get there quicker, some will need nurture. And what you're describing there is a Warrington club that now he's transitioned to. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. We'll stick by him. We'll keep working with them, because if there is a diamond in there, whether it be 2 years, 4 years, 6, we'll shine it together and they'll get the chance.
That we have to, because everybody matures at a different level. Everybody has their time will come, and we've got to wait, and we've got to hold our nerve. And when all these clubs are going and speaking to 12 and 13-year-olds, and we've got to be looking at 17, 18, 19-year-olds who have had that growth spurt, who have been through a bit of adversity, who have had to go and graft and earn things. And You know, we've seen it time and time again that it works. We're happy with our model. I'm more than happy with what our youth system is looking like. We have a fantastic team there that's headed up by Ryan O'Brien. He's unbelievable as head of youth, and trust me on this, we're going to get more and more and more players coming through our system who want to be at the club, who have a massive connection with the club, and that's how we're going to be as a club. We're a developing club, not a buying club.
And you know, and again, we'll come back to the kids in a while. But before we do, I mean, obviously we saw there almost seems to be a bit of a shift as well in the buying policy. I mean, it's good that you're saying that we want to bring these kids through so we don't have to buy. But even saying that, you know, I look at the likes of last season, Roderick Tye. I mean, very few people had heard of Roderick Tye. Came in, did a great job for us. Alfie Johnson debuted against Widnes, scored 2 tries. He's transitioning from Union to League. You know, not many people know Alfie Johnson. As starts go, something to build on. You know, again, we've got to just play that down a little bit, but it's a good start for Alfie. Ollie Leyland coming in, bags of talent, did well for London last year. You know, so even the buying element appears to be shifting to this model of you're looking for not the finished article, but people that you see the finished article in and you can develop.
If we need to bring a big name in, we can and we will. If we need to bring people in who we think that are going to be a long-term option for us, then we will. You know, we've got that capacity to do that. But ultimately, we need to develop our own and bring them in, and that's the model that we use. What we can't ever do is go back to blocking someone's pathway. So that's sort of my template there. If there's a player there who's just about to come good, I can't bring someone in who's going to block a pathway. And that's what we're trying not to do, so that we show that there's reasons and ways for people to get through. They can see that clear line go through. And we've lost, look, man, we lost a couple of players this year in our youth system who were very, very, very good players. And you know, we're gutted to lose them, but they see what's in front of them, say to Kai Taylor or someone like that, and they think, well, you know, I just don't see that. But you don't know what's going to happen in the future. With Kai being young and he's a special talent, I get it. But what I can't do is, we got Matt Duffy there, but long term we can't block Kai's pathway because, you know, he's just going to get better and better. Matt Duffy's brilliant with him, and he's going to keep. He teaches him and he advises him. But I think Matt realizes, you know, in the long term, whenever that may be, Kai's going to come and really put some pressure on him.
And again, that's heartwarming for any club. You know, when there's a conveyor belt of talent, when you've got these, you know, senior pros at the moment that are bringing through the new generation like they are, and that new generation appear to have the talent to take over in the future, whatever that may be. That's long-term sustainable success on the cards, isn't it? That is what really is the golden chalice, isn't it?
Well, that'll be a measure of what I do. I think, you know, that ultimately when this journey's over and somebody else takes up as a role of Director of Rugby or whatever that may be, and then ultimately I'll be measured on that, I think. And you know, it's sustainable success is vital to what this club needs, and I'm hell bent on making it happen.
Superb. We'll come back to the kids in a bit. I mean, what I want to touch on, because again, a lot of Warrington fans, when they realised that I was going to do this interview, we know that 2022, 2023 were challenging years, really challenging years, probably the most challenging since we've been at the Halliwell. I mean, I think the last year maybe a Tony Smith was challenging as well, but in terms of 2 back-to-back seasons, they were really challenging under Davil. Great to see that Davil's gone on to Wakefield and he's resurrecting his coaching career like he is. But you know, from your perspective, those 2 years, you're a passionate man around Warrington Wolves. How difficult was it as a club, especially 23, the back end of that project, as it were? How difficult was it to see what was happening on the field?
Whether it being unlucky or the luxury, I was still working. I was still teaching at the time. You know, when sort of Daddle was initially appointed, I only came in around that time from teaching to do the head of youth role. And what I will say is he had a vested interest in the reason I took the role was because I wanted someone who would be prepared to give our younger players a go, and he was committed to that. But I think as well, and I've got the luxury of looking in on this from probably not being as invested in the club. I was still coaching in the evenings, but not anywhere near to the extent that I'm doing now. It was like he made decisions on big players, and I thought we lost our way a little bit. Now, hindsight's a great thing, and that's Daryl's call. He has to make those big decisions. That's why he's in there. But I think if you're losing people like Michael Cooper and Chris Hill, who've been here a long time, and are sort of your leaders in your club, it's hard to replace them initially and straight away. So when things start to go wrong, and they do, we have times where things will go wrong for us, and the people who you need to be the ones who lead it and drive it forward and pick it up again, maybe aren't there to do it, and you're relying on people with less stature to do it. So that could be one reason why that happened. And I say that hindsight's a great thing, and Darryl might say, no, that's not the reason. I don't know that one because, I'm only, but it was hard to take. It was hard to watch. It was hard seeing, obviously, a very talented coach and his staff be under that sort of pressure. And, it's not easy when you care about a club so much to see what's happening to the club and what's happening to the fans and that.
So obviously, in terms of yourself, you were head of youth at that point. At what point was it just before or just after Darryl left that the director of rugby started being talked about?
I think it was a Wakefield game. We got beat against
Darryl's last game.
That was Darryl's last game. I was asked to go to come down to the to Padgate, to training ground, and Carl obviously said, would you sort of jump on this till we bring someone else in? And said, obviously, yeah, we'd be honoured to do it. I knew it was going to be quite challenging. I knew where the players were at that time. I knew that week was going to be tough. We were on I think it was a 5-day turnaround till we played Catalan, but of course I'm going to do it. It was like, do anything like that. So it was, it was a real privilege to be asked to do that. And I think it was during that time, over that period of time, that, people within the club, Carl or the directors and that, obviously, like sort of a bit of a direction that and what was going on a little bit. I'm assuming that's how it is. Never really been spoken about. And then when we thought there was going to be a new coach coming in, I thought I was only doing the job for a week or two. That didn't materialise. Sam was mentioned. I coached Sam as a kid. He was under 18. I tried signing for Warrington actually, and I think I got him his biggest deal at Bradford because I was coaching England at the time, and I tapped him up. I could just see what I'm thinking. Wow, this guy not playing in Bradford's first team, and we had a bit of a go with him, and I got really friendly with him, obviously with England, and he stayed at Bradford. It'd have been great for us, but that's funny how that circle sort of comes round, and then he spoke about being the head coach of Warrington, and I knew he'd be good. I just knew he would be. I knew what he was as an individual. I knew, what his family life had been like, and the commitment that he'd made to, obviously, his mum after he'd passed away, and the measures that his brothers and that had sort of said what they were going to do with their lives to leave some sort of a legacy there for the family and for Dad. And I just thought we needed that personality in there, and and Sam was appointed, and around that time, Carl got me in and the board and just said, look, would you be interested in that role? We like what you've done. Obviously the interview and what my vision was and where I see it going, and how we spoke about that. And here I am. So that's sort of how it worked. It came about from taking the team on. I think we won 3 and lost 3, but it was the stuff we were trying to do behind the scenes and sort of stabilize stuff. And yeah, and that's, Robert Moon couldn't be happier. Best job in the world. Very lucky.
I think I spoke to you around about that time, and I think you said that in terms of the full-time coach's job, it was something that you didn't really see for you long term, if my memory serves me right. I think you played it down in terms of you taking over the helm at Warrington going forward. Was there any discussion around that, or was it always they were going out and getting Sam?
I think sort of my ship had sailed with that a little bit. If I was going to be honest, I coached a lot of time. I was assistant under Paul Cullen, and then I'd done England. I did Cumbria. Probably if I was going to do it, back into my 30s and things like that, that was a way to go. And I didn't. I went into education from there, because that was the career I went in. I stayed in rugby, and probably the reason that I come back to rugby, because I'd gone as far as I could in education, and the next step wouldn't have meant me coaching the youth, and I wouldn't have had time to do it, and I still wanted to do that. So that sort of then came around to, look, it's time to go back into rugby again here, but probably not in that head coach's role. Then I'd not put the time and detail in, being with the youth and coaching that, and I'm not the best coach in the world, but I do back myself. I know how people learn, so it was always good for the youth, and I know I can get them to learn. But probably it had probably gone for me on that one, and I was better suited to this role, and I'm pleased that people had the vision, and I'm grateful like never before that they had the vision and foresight to see that was probably the right role for me.
And of course, Sam's appointed came out of left field. Not many people saw that one coming. It was a pretty quick turnaround, wasn't it? From, I think, first contact to appointment. Take us into Sam's dressing room. I mean, again, I think the feeling within Warrington is that from an atmosphere perspective, from an enjoyment perspective, there was a rapid increase in that. People had smile on their faces again. They were happy to come into work again. You could sense it. There was something going on there. You knew Sam the lad. He came back Sam the man. Great NRL career. You're very tight with him. You observe him on a day-to-day basis. Describe to us those early days and how Sam, put his own footprint into the club and how the players responded.
So in that sort of appointment phase, when I had them for them few games, he was dipping in then. He was watching from afar. He was learning about what the club was. Wanted to know a lot about the town, more so wanted to know about the youth, and was just immersing himself in it. Then obviously came in, and the first thing was, do you want to meet the players ready for pre-season? He went, no, we're not doing that. This is what I want to do. We're going to go to Birchwood Forest Park. Players will be there then. They're going to do a time trial in the dark at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll speak to them when they're working hard. So he set the tone straight from I wasn't sure about it. I said, I don't know, but yeah, all right. And it worked. So he set the tone straight from word go. The first time they all came across him was in a working environment. They absolutely love him. They love the fact that he's done what he's done, but he never says anything about that. Very rarely speaks about his own career. But what he does, he has time for them all. He likes to sit with them all. He views them all as his friends, but also he's their coach. When he decides that it's time that he needs to give some messages, he is very, very good at it. As good as I've ever seen, to be honest. He doesn't leave things to fester. There's nothing being behind the scenes. He treats them as men. He talks to them as men. The conversations are, straight, and it's dealt with, and they know where they stand, and that's all that matters to them. He's very clear. He's very knowledgeable. He's got a really good team around him. His knowledge of the game. He's a student of the game, and I know it's a cliche that, but he really is. He has a certain way that he wanted us to play. I want to run with two markers near the line. I'm thinking, don't know about that. Need to fill the field, but that worked well for us. We had the best defensive system in the league, and a lot of that goes down to his relationship with Richard Marshall and how they work together. He brought certain areas where we're going to defend hard, certain areas through the field where we have to do different systems, but ultimately he gets buy-in. The players absolutely love him. What you see from him as a bloke is that infectious enthusiasm. His commitment to them is total, and his commitment to the club and the town is total as well. He's on it. He led that when he did the eye, the fractured eye socket, and that year he sort of just led that team. Like, it wasn't even the best team. He openly admits that, but he took it upon himself that he was going to win that year, and he's doing it now. He was absolutely gutted after OKR. We watched it again when he's just can't get his head around why we lost that, and he's on it. He's like driving this thing like never before. And it's a tough train to be on sometimes because he's like full on, but it's his personality.
How important for the club was it? It went from a 2-year to a 3-year project, maybe beyond that, who knows? But the fact that he signed on for an extra year last year, how important for the club was that?
It's important for players, firstly, because they know what that stability is. They trust him and value him that much. They want him around. It's important when young players see that they've got him there, and if they're coming into the first team, they're going to be able to spend some time into him. And when you're recruiting players as well, you speak to people. People want to be around Sam Burgess, and if he's here for a bit longer, and he's extending his contracts, then that's even better because they get more time with him. So it was massive moving forward. He'll go back home in time. He's got it. He's got his other family as well, and but his life here he's really, really, really happy. He loves the life that he's got. He's got his wife and his child and that here, and they love the lifestyle, and that's just brilliant. That's why he committed again. There's no doubt there would have been multiple clubs that would have wanted him to go there, but he committed here, and that's good for us. And I think we'll see an improved version of us this year because of the measures that he's put in so far.
I mean, I said before we started recording this tonight that arguably Warrington were the most improved side in Super League last year. When you consider the 2 years prior, rookie coaching in Sam, we've got to say it. I mean, what first year from Sam and the lads last year, but massive improvement year on year for the Warrington Wolves. From your perspective, does that put more pressure on the 2025 season, the fact that there was such a big improvement last year?
No, I don't. I think, and that was part of the plan as well, was not to go out and have a mad recruitment blitz, because we knew what we had. We knew that we only needed to tinker a little bit to give us those 1% margins. We needed to improve little bits here in defence, little bits here on attack. We needed to layer, and there wasn't needed to be a total rebuild and anything like that. So what we've got is a fantastic head coach, a fantastic coaching team, a fantastic group of staff, support staff, head of performance, and we've got a really good team there. On top of that, we didn't need to build massively. We need to develop our youth even further. They'll get better this year because of what they did last year. They'll improve, and that they'll get better this year. The players that we brought in, Luke Yates would have been one of those we brought in. We were lucky enough to have him at the back end of the year. Typifies what we want to be known as a club. So he's had that bit of time with us, so he'll be better again this year, even though he was excellent last year. And we're pretty well set up to kick on. We've added small incremental changes in there already. He's got a vision of what he wants, how he wants to improve, small bits at a time, and I think we'll attack with a bit more flair, and I think we'll have a even better defensive system this year, just because of the small changes that are being made. It's not big changes anymore. Yeah. We just need to find the ways that we've stopped the yo-yo now, the seesaw. I'd like to think whoever we played last year, we had we could walk off that field and everybody would say, what, they've had a dig there, and that's all we wanted. And now it's starting to put some extra quality on that.
And what we're doing as well, which is apparent with the extension of Danny Walker to 2029, is Warrington are ring fencing players that are very difficult to go and replace. I mean, Danny's in the prime of his career. He told me at the media day, very close to leaving to Canberra, did a U-turn. As a director of Rugby League Warrington, I'm going to repeat to you what Danny said to me that day. He said that one of the biggest reasons why he didn't leave the Warrington Wolves as a Warrington lad was that if Warrington went on to win a grand final during his career, he would never forgive himself for not playing number 9 in that team. As a director of rugby league, that's got to be the spirit, that's got to be the commitment that you're looking for from the lads.
He's a fantastic individual, isn't he? He'll admit it, there'll be probably a laugh. We had some tough conversations last year, and that's fine. That goes with the territory. I've got no issue with that, and neither's Danny. But to keep him and to have him here, and to have him with that passion, that drive, and that commitment to this club is fantastic for us. And it's going to put us in a really good position to have him there. And then you've got obviously him and Sam Powell, who complement each other so well, who are massive for the culture of the club and what goes on behind the scenes. We're lucky to have someone like Danny who's going to stay.
Yeah, outstanding stuff. It really is to have him on board for the new season. So in terms of, again, Director of Rugby League, overseeing head of development right the way through, one of the things that, because I see the reserves, I see the academy, I do the commentary, as you know, I've got the privilege of watching the young lads coming up. And what I've seen, which I presume is through you and a conscious effort by the club, is there seems to be an identity now running through all levels of Warrington Wolves, the style of play, the way in which so that when these guys are coming up to first team, the way Warrington play, it's almost got a style, which I think we haven't seen maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. There just seems to be that running through. Would it be right in saying that? Is that a conscious decision?
Yeah, we spoke about this, and it's something that Sam's really big on. We have to have an identity. We have to, people know what we're going to do, but then it's up to them to stop it, and what we have to do is the first team have this level, and then we have to scale it back to the reserves and scale it back to the academy and scale it back to the scholars and our women's team as well. So, but everybody plays a certain way. Everybody defends a certain way. And that's what we want it to be known as, so that when you do step up, you step up and look like a Warrington Wolves player and not a rookie. So when Aaron Lindop steps up, he looks like a Warrington Wolves player. He doesn't look like a young kid that you've just brought in, and he understands the system. If Kai Taylor steps up, he looks like a Warrington Wolves player, etc. They're all there. So that's been our biggest success, and that's something that Sam has driven all the way through. We forego sometimes all these structured plays, and he just skills the hell out of them. Core skill, fundamentals, and does it in a way that isn't monotonous, and does it in a way that people want to buy in and do even more after training. So it's clever. It's clever how he does it. Sometimes I wonder how he does it, but yeah, it's good. It's very good.
I mean, the interesting thing, and this is in corporate world as well as in professional sport, and I've seen this as a Warrington, at Warrington for many years, is that the strategy of you sink or swim. I've never been an advocate of that, and I think by having this structure, you are giving the likes of these young lads, because they're stepping up into the same system, the style of play. It gives them a far better chance of succeeding on the big stage, doesn't it? Because yes, it's a higher standard, but the basics and the fundamentals and the style of play are the same. So it makes it easier for them to maybe adapt than perhaps in years gone by it would have been.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you've got to give them a chance. You've got to get them physically ready. And like I said, this journey, and everybody's physically, there's certain things we look for, when we're out, we go scouting, we're looking for fit players who have got a bit of capacity for growth and skill wise and that. But if, they've got to be good people first, willing to work harder than anyone. We have a saying in the youth team. Look, if we select them, it doesn't matter what happens then. All we need them to do is turn up and work hard. We've made that choice. If we make the wrong choice, that's our fault. We have to make it better. So we put a lot of time and effort into looking for the right type of players. And, when they then come through, we start to see them, then they flourish. They need a few games because it is hard. But when they step up and come into the team and look like Warrington Wolves players rather than rookies, we've done our job. And you've seen that with Ben Artel the other day, did he play a full game against Widnes, and looked really good at it as well. So it's working, and I'm really excited about what the future is going to bring, and that sustainability, but that flair, that passion to be at the club because they know nothing else is going to be good for us.
Has Alan phoned you yet from Widnes? Reference Mr. Hartle.
Yeah, he phoned me after the game. Actually, he said, yeah, he liked. Who did he like? Him. He liked Kai. Obviously, because Kai's doing, and he loves Max as well. Max Wood.
Yeah, Maxie Wood. Yeah.
Max is an handful. So yeah, he threw it in a bit on them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In the presser after he was waxing lyrical over Ben, so I half expected that.
Yeah, he did, mate. So I was in car park. He phoned me about it.
Yeah, he didn't. So he didn't wait. He didn't wait too long to do that. Then, but again, from your perspective, I mean, again, I know you've got to be careful. They are young lads, and how much exposure they get out of the Warrington system, and certainly championship level. But is that something that you see for some of these players this year? This link up with Widnes, is it an opportunity for some of these young lads to take a step up into a higher grade of rugby, to help their, nurture into the Warrington team?
Yeah, it was important we stayed with Widnes. I trust Alan and the people and Stuart at Widnes. I really trust them and they have it's a good environment they have there. So they're pretty strong at the moment. They probably won't need many of our players. So what we've got Keithley at the moment as dual reg, who are a really good club, well run by Jake and Steve there. They're brilliant. So we've got a couple of lads who will go to Swinton. We've got some at Workington. We've got them spread around. So when the reserve games aren't on and they're getting a taste of what it's like elsewhere. So yeah, it's important. But ultimately, we need them playing at Widnes, these young lads at that high level, and we need to get them some games at Widnes as well. So Keith will be absolutely brilliant for us because they've got such a good setup there. The standard's really good, so we will put some of our younger players there, and then we've got that link with Widnes as well. So it's healthy and it's good, and we've got some players elsewhere too. So it's important that we give them loads of options.
Super. Before we go on to these kids, because I do want to talk a little bit more about these up and coming kids before we finish. Just finally on Sam. We know he was a great pro. We know he's had his distinguished career, stepping up to coaching. The man's, let's be fair, Sam's got it. He's got an aura. We know that. Anybody who's been around Sam, he has got an aura. Did you expect him to be as good in the press as he's been? Because what shone through last year, you've talked about what he's done in the changing room with the lads, and he's a good man manager. But I thought there was times last year where he managed the press incredibly well, whether that be protecting the players, whether that be putting reporters right, whatever it may be. He just came across so methodical, so calm. Was just that side of him. Because let's be fair, it is difficult. I think you've said it to me as well. Speaking, to press and this, that, the other, it is a minefield. And it is. But he did it really well, didn't he?
I think he knows more about it than anybody in the game, because when he was at the top of his game, he was like inundated. He couldn't walk down the street. He couldn't open his front door. He couldn't walk out of training. He's been in and around that for a long time at the highest level, under the most difficult of circumstances, scrutinised. So I think what that did, he prepared him for this position. I think when he initially came in, I was worried about how he would be with the press, because he'd been at times challenged over there, as a player. So you're going to put your guard up, and it's going to make you like a little bit, well, you're going to have a little bit of anxiety, say, of what's going to be printed and now that's going to be put across. But he's just ate it up. It's just like everything that he's done beforehand has prepared him, and I think some credit goes to people like you and that, Dave, as well. He's not getting people trying to come up with this story or trying to get him in to say something. I think he's developed quite a bit of trust and like for the people who were speaking to him. He's learned that people like yourself are there to develop the game and not necessarily hang people out to dry. It's not about that, and I think it's enabled him to probably relax a little bit with the press and show what, well, obviously undoubtedly what he's done over there for years, but I think he's a little bit more relaxed with you, and I think that's why you have that good relationship, and you get the responses that you get from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we spoke about that. The best way to get rugby league on the pedestal is to promote it and to big it up, and to use people like Sam with the amount of pulling power that he's got to elevate the sport to the level that it should be. Yeah. So you're right. As what we don't want are people just trying to find stories that belittle him, belittle the game. I just don't understand why you'd do that. So thanks very much. I didn't realise you were going to say that about me. Thanks very much for that. I'll take that all day long. We don't do clickbait at Super League Raw, you know that. But no, right. Let's get to these kids now. Look, I don't want to put pressure on them. I don't. But it's all, again, I've seen it with my own eyes. This is all, we've seen Wigan do it for years. We've seen Leeds do it. We've seen Saints do it. Really good structures, bringing people through. They've done it year after year. Suddenly Warrington, I believe, I said class of 92. People always talk about the United class of 92. What we're seeing here is a bunch of talented young men coming through at the same time. The fact that Leon Hayes has been given 7 this year at his tender age shows how much respect the club have got for his talent. He's not the finished article, but like you said, nobody's blocking his path. Over to you. We spoke to Ollie Russell on an in conversation a couple of weeks ago, and he compared himself to, well, I compared him to Jack Farriman. He had a very stop-start career. People were blocking his pathway, like Farriman at Wigan. He's not getting in over French or Smith. Big decision there for Wigan, what they do with Farriman. Warrington, Leon, you're 7. Brilliant. Behind him, Kai Taylor-Ray. We've got Aaron Lindor. Adam Holroyd, against Wigan last year, announced himself if he needed to be, of what a player is. Maxi Wood came across, of course, Wigan. Another young talent there. We've talked about Ben Harthill. We haven't even got to Jake Fulis and raft of players that we've probably not got time to speak about. How talented, you see these guys day to day. How excited is the club that the future and long-term success of the club could very well be from within with this group of lads?
Massively. Well, it's massively important that we bring them through, and massively excited about them. It's we got to be smart in how we do it. We got to give them the right games. I could kick myself. Liam was going that well last year, and it was never. I don't think it was ever our intention to keep playing him. He picked up that injury, so that just kicked him back a little bit. But he's the temperament of the guy is he'll chew it up and he'll be fine with that. So we just need to look after them. If anything, that just give us a little bit. Look, just be careful with them. They're still growing and they're still developing. But it's the only way we can do it, man. There may be other ways, but I don't know them. It's the only way that this club is gonna. It's gonna, like I say, the only way we'll go forward and have sustained success. And again, there may be other ways of doing it, but I don't know of it. And that's why I'm here. That's what we're going to try and do. And we've seen little glimpses of it. We're lucky to have an head coach who wants to go down that route. Who I feel as though, when I don't want to put pressure on our coaching team or our staff, but there's a model that Melbourne have used for years where we have really good systems, but Melbourne have fantastic systems, and if we can emulate what they've done, they can bring players in, and the system and the coaching gets them up to speed quickly, and they flourish. And I'm starting to see that with what our coaches and what our head coach implements now. So when these young fellas come in, like I say, they don't look like rookies; they look like Warrington Wolves players, and I can see that happening. There's a lot there. There's a lot of really, really good young players now, and they're seeing that they have an opportunity. They're saying that there's a chance there for them, and they all want to take it. So it's going to be good. We said the other day, Sam, we want to win the scholarship, we want to win the academy, we want to win the reserves. We want them all pushing and fighting and scrambling to get through, and doing it at the right level, at their right speed is the way forward. That's the challenge now of seeing when they're ready to take that step up and exposing them to it.
And mentioned a lot of names there. There's names underneath that. Tom Whitehead against Widnes had a brilliant stellar game at loose forward. You've got Nolan Tapia, second rower, back rower, who represented England last year, also on the fringes as well. So it's not just the players that people who are watching us from other clubs have seen last season. There is a an undercurrent underneath what they've already seen that is also yet to announce themselves on the stage and have got the capability to do so.
I think we saw last year, and he was really young then, young Frank Sargent on the wing. You know, he had a little go again the other night. Looked good. He's going to go to Swinton for a season there. Yeah, there's loads of them, and I'm doing them an injustice there of what we've got. You know, I don't want to keep naming because I'll miss someone. And they all want it, and they're all top kids. They're good people, and that's because that's what we want first. And you know, I can't wait. I love it. Absolutely, I love it. I love seeing these young kids come in. And like I say, we're still in a position that if we need quality and he doesn't block pathways, and we can do that, and we will do that. Of course, we will. We're very lucky to have people like George Williams and that there, you know, to guide them as well. Yeah, we're all right. We're all right. You know, we're ticking along okay.
And the new starters, of course, you know, Dan Russell, he got out there against Widnes, Alfie Johnson as well. Ollie Leyland, I thought, had a really good game in the halves, kicked well. So the newbies that have come in this season have settled well and are enjoying the time under and again, the coaches. You just mentioned the coaches.
Yeah, we sort of lost Wes Bruins. Wes couldn't get fit last year. He tried hard to do it, mate, but he couldn't get fit. So we needed. Sam likes the idea of, you know, big carrying winger rookie underneath there, and you know, Alfie's coming in, and I thought he stood up really well. A top guy. Ollie, I think he's played under Game Super League, hasn't he? You know, so to be able to get him in here, and you know, I think we're really fortunate that he's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant for us. Top guy, wants it, real student of the game. And you know, I think he'll show. I think he'll do us proud this year. And then you know, Big Dan's came in and he's ready to go. He's probably not got the break that he deserved over in Australia. We've got him fitter than he's been. He understands the systems now. He's picked that up. He's an absolute top guy. I was just, you know, both Sam and I were a bit concerned. That going into the start of the year, that you know, we got Lockie who's coming back, and you know, he's not far away, Lockie Fitzgibbon, and we got Adam, but I just thought we needed another body, another individual in there, and that's why we brought Dan in, and he's I think he showed up really well against Widnes, run a good line and things like that, and I don't want heat pressure on him, but he was excellent when we've been on training camp. He was a top performer, so I can't wait to see how he goes against Lee and things like that. I think he'll really stand up and shock a few people.
A little bit, you know, you don't have to answer this if you don't, because I know tactics and systems are, you know, maybe under lock and key. But Benny Curry, obviously retaining his number 11 this season. Will he be staying at loose or not?
He'll stay at loose, mate.
He's staying at loose?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to start there. Yeah,
because I think he's a top professional, top guy, and loves this club out of sight. And I thought what he did last year was, you know, to step into that position. Yeah, he's a leader as well. You know, he's a leader. So he'll be 13.
He's got good hands, hasn't he, for a big lad? I mean, it is the modern day 13, isn't it? You know,
yeah, he's a brilliant athlete. He's a brilliant athlete. Played back row, play centre. But you know, he could easily play him at 6. You know, he's a good player, really good player, man.
Fantastic. Right. Okay. So let's finish off then just by talking 2025. I asked you, you know, was the pressure? You've poured a bit of cold water on that one, which we'd expect you to do. Within the camp at this moment in time, you've said that you haven't needed to recruit. It's just a bit of tinkering. Challenge Cup final fell short last year. Hull KR. We won't go there, but obviously very, very close game. They always are against Hull KR. This season, it's an obvious question. I know if I asked this to Sammy, he'd give a very blunt answer, but I'll ask it of you. It's silverware, isn't it? That is the ultimate goal for Warrington this season.
No, we have to win. That's it. We have to win. It's, you know, we have to develop our own. But you know, in that as well, we have to win. That's what you measured on, and you know, we did okay last year. We did some good things, had some good victories, and you know, hopefully our speckies and our fans see what we're about as a team, and you know, they're happy with that. But we didn't win anything, and we have to win.
Vegas, of course, a bit of a buzz around the club where Vegas is concerned. How much are you looking forward to
No,
going over
no,
there?
I'll be happy when it's done. I have the planning and prep that goes into this thing, mate, is like, wow, it's took over my life. So yeah, I can't wait. You know, I was lucky enough, Dave, um, went over before Christmas to do a recce, see what it's all about, and you know, if anybody who's listening here thinks that you know they might be interested in going, then you should, because I was with the NRL, and the NRL people there, they were the ones who run the grand final in Australia, and they went, nothing compares to this in rugby league sport. It's absolutely unbelievable. So that was good to hear. But with that, you know, there's a hell of a lot of planning and preparation. You know, getting the team over there, making sure that they're fresh when they get there, making sure they're hydrated properly, are they eating the right stuff on the plane, you know, they get the sleep pattern up to scratch quickly, and then what do we do when we come back? Are we, you know, do we get them ready to go to play against Wakefield? So we work in blocks, and we're looking at that block as that's a big block for us there. You know, we've got Huddersfield, Catalan, Wigan, and then we've got to come back and play Wakey, and we've got to be on it. We've got to saturate every facet we can so that we go and perform in all them games. And there's no excuses to say, oh, we've just come back from Vegas, or we're going to Vegas. No, that doesn't come into it. We're on it. We're really planning hard to make sure that it's right.
And that's why this squad is so important, because naturally, you know, it's rugby league. So throw into that just the usual wear and tear. The squad in that period is going to be vitally important, isn't it?
Well, it's like, you know, we put the squad in this we think is going to go to Vegas, and the flights, and you've got to book all that in. It's probably not going to be, you know, touch what I hope it is, but it's probably not going to be. So it's, you know, everybody's thinking that they all want to go. So that's helping us in training. There's a real intensity of what's going on against 13 against 13, and the quality that go on there. You know, it's good.
Fantastic. So look, it's been great having a convo. Before we go though, we do a quick 1 to 13. So I'm going to put you on the spot here now. I don't know if we actually spoke about this or not. But in terms of players that you've played with, Gary, we're going to do a quick 1 to 13. I'm going to put you front row at 10. You'll be captain. We'll start at fullback. We'll go through the team, starting at 1. If you could walk over the whitewash with players in their prime to take on the best of Super League in
Players that I
2025,
played with,
who would they be? So starting at number 1.
Brian Johnson. He didn't
Brian
play with him,
Johnson.
but I coached him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thought he was, yeah, unbelievable.
That length of the fielder goes down in
Yeah.
folklore, doesn't it? That was some try.
Foz, Des.
Mark Foster and Desi.
Yeah.
The legend, the late great legend that is Desi Drummond. My childhood hero, that, Gary. That was my childhood hero, Desi.
What a man he was. Brilliant.
Loved him.
Great fella.
Yeah.
Played with after that.
Who have you got in your centres?
I would have. Who would be in my centres? That was. I'll be missing some here. I'm going to get done for this. I'll be missing some. I probably played Cull there when he was younger, because, you know, because I'm going to say Mike Gregory at 13. Do you know what I mean? So Cull, and there was so many good centres in there. Who am I missing here, mate? Come on, oh, Toa. Toa was good. Toa Coilov.
Yeah, well, be a few people surprised that the likes of Alan Bateman, Johnny D didn't get a mention there. There's two that stick out.
To be fair, you know what? I feel bad about Alan, because he's me mate, Alan Bateman. He was under Greg Mackey. I forgot about him. He'll never let me forget this.
I'll send him a copy.
Under Alan Bateman, mate. Under Greg Mackey, Alan Bateman's probably the best player I've ever played with. So
both sides of the ball. I think Bateman for me, in any generation. I mean, you know, rightly so. People talk Jake Wardle at the minute, probably the pinnacle of the centres in Super League currently. I think Wardle's probably.
Bateman was like
He was class.
Unbelievable. Yeah, so he's got to go in there, and he has to go in there.
Yeah, I help you out. You asked me to help you. I've helped you.
Yeah,
and you're guaranteed to get your pint off him next time you see him. So.
Jonathan Davis should have to be in it, you know, at half back or full back in Breezy.
Yeah.
He would be in there. I don't fit anywhere near all these lot, mate. That's just yeah. So hooker wise, wow, there's been some good hookers as well, hasn't
there has. In your era, and I'm hoping you're going to say my second favourite player of that era, because that was my number 9 at Warrington at that time.
Who was that? Kevin?
No, Dwayne Mann.
Oh,
what a player!
Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, he was class.
I've missed another one on the wing as well. I'm really good mates with Henry Farfee as well, mate. So I'm going to mention Henry as well because he was brilliant.
We're picking 2 sides here.
yeah. Dwayne Mann, wow, what a player he was.
He was class.
You know,
absolutely class. So who's in your front row? Who's alongside you? And you got some players there.
I'd have to say Les. I only played with him in a reserve game, but there's Jacko. There's really good mates with Bob.
Yeah. Do you ever play with Tamata?
Yeah, play with Kev. Yeah,
he was a good player.
I can't pick one of those. I'd have to say Les because Les is like my favourite player. But you know, and then you've got like your back rowers, Gary Mercer.
Yeah, good player. I was devastated when he went to Leeds.
Unbelievable good player.
Yeah.
I love Gary Sanderson, second row. Just a top bloke player.
Yeah.
Gave everything for club. I know I've missed loads there, but and then obviously Mike Gregg.
Is that the easiest pick, Mike Gregg, at 13 of all of them? Is that the easiest one to pick?
Yeah, because he sort of epitomised everything that I want my players to be like. Now he could go elsewhere. He could have went elsewhere. It would have been easy for him to go to Wigan at that time, and he never went. And I was involved in as a young player coming through. I could see that he had no reason to stay. He just loved it, and when he did his knee, I played in that game, and having a cruciate injury at that time was a finisher. When he tried never before to come back, but was never the same player.
No.
So what he did for the club at that around that time, and I was because you're young, it sort of ingrains in you what he was. He didn't have to stay here. He could have went wherever he wanted, but he didn't want to go, and that was some of that I want from my young players and these young lads coming into this team.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to show though. I mean, great player Mike Gregg. Don't get me wrong, but it was Desi for me. Desi was my man. I just that guy.
He's a good fella, mate.
I'll
tell you,
we've lost some good.
I'll tell you, we're on about half backs as well, and I played it again with John Woods.
Woody,
unbelievable player.
Yeah.
There's loads, but I'll apologise to Alan Bateman. He's after Greg Mackey, he was the best player I thought I'd played with.
Well, we haven't taught your career, but as you sit there now, we weren't planning on asking you this, but you've lit up as you've been talking about these colleagues of yours from years gone by. I mean, it must be a wonderful thing for you to sit there now with these players going through your mind and the memories that you made with them. I mean, we're talking some serious rugby league talent here, aren't we, that you've played alongside?
Oh, they were unbelievable players, and we weren't the reason that I loved playing at this club and at that time was we weren't the most fashionable, but the camaraderie and what we had as a group was unbelievable. We brought Jonathan Davis and that in, and I used to work with him. He had an easy job than me. They gave him the easy job, and I was still on the tools and that. But that's what it used to be in them times. But yeah, sometimes you wonder you know, how you ever mixed it in them sort of. I look at it now and I think, have I ever played this game? You know, I was up, man. I was unlucky. I could have been better than what I was. I picked up a load of injuries, and it wasn't like, you know, there were bad injuries I was getting. I wasn't the biggest, probably, and you know, fractured my eye socket and kept dislocating my elbow and then rupturing my thigh, and they were big injuries that would keep me out a long time. But I think now 94, 95 time, I got in England squad. I think it was the Ashes squad or something like that. I probably, and I, you know, I never big myself up, but at that time I was going all right. I think, you know, if I was ever going to kick on and play international, it was that time, and I think I got some injuries after that, and it just never materialised. So, yeah, good times. Wouldn't change it for anything. You know, going about Ed Knox and all this, wouldn't change it for anything.
Well, there you go. You know, I'd say anybody who knows Gary knows he doesn't like talking about himself or his career, but England international, I'll never let him forget. Regal Trophy winner.
Yes.
I clinged on to that all the way to 2009. I clinged on to the Regal
Yeah,
Trophy.
brilliant.
Yeah, but anyway, but look, Gary, I could talk to you all night, but we've run out of time. On behalf of everybody who watches Super League Raw, fascinating insight into Director of Rugby League, your thoughts on the Warrington Wolves for 2025. I'll be seeing you on Saturday. But on behalf of everybody who watches us, Gary Chambers, thank you very much for doing In Conversation.
Top man. Thanks, Dave. Loved it. Thank you.